Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors side, just reacting to the Toronto Raptors 116-109 victory against the Houston Rockets. And Josh, while the Rockets are certainly a team, alien hunting out there, searching for Victor Wembanyama, they came out and played hard in this one. They gave the Raptors a few tough punches. Few guys on their roster played really well, but the Raptors were able to handle it in due to big games from Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, and Otto Porter Jr. How are you feeling about this W for the Toronto Raptors?
I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, it was way closer than it should have been, but I'm not going to complain about a W. I think the Houston Rockets team deserves some credit, though. They got some young guys like Alperen Sengun's really impressive. Jalen Green's explosive. I don't know what I think about Jabari Smith's game yet, but the kid's only 19 years old. I'm sure he's going to be great. But back to the topic of the Raptors, they got the job done. Can't complain. I would like to see the set offense improve a little bit, but hey, they hang their hat on defense. That's what got it done, and we outscored them big time off of turnovers. I think like 31-13. So that was a huge key. And I mean, OG Anunoby and Fred VanVleet playing all NBA defense, and then OG with a monster double-double. And then we got Fred VanVleet dropping a 32-piece. So, all good on my end. I thought it was a great game. Wish we were in the driver's seat a little earlier, but still good.
Felt like it could have been a triple-double there for OG Anunoby. The way he was picking pockets left, right, and center in that second half. And, he's just such an enforcer out there. Like, players are dribbling that basketball, and obviously a young team like the Houston Rockets, they're going to be a little bit, not as tight, not as polished with their handles, with their finishing. We'll discuss all that in this video. But OG Anunoby took advantage tonight, came into this game and dropped... In this one, this is the wrong box scores. I got two box scores popping up. Things are going crazy out here. This is the wrong. I don't know what is happening. I got the wrong box score pulled up, Josh. But he came out, got steal after steal there in the second half. Staying in front of quick guards like Jalen Green, switched on to Kevin Porter Jr. at times, right? Jabari Smith didn't really have much driving lanes or any action such as that. But OG Anunoby, the level of defense that he provides night in, night out, even when he's struggling on the offensive end, is just such a value add to this Toronto Raptors team. And then when he's on the other court, hitting 4 threes in the first quarter, driving lanes, dunking on top of people left, right, and center. This is a guy that is, the pinnacle of what you can expect from a 3-and-D role-playing wing.
Well, and did you see the Depoy ladder come out? I mean, We'll give it some time, but I think that Marcus Smart and Giannis being ahead of him is a little bit of a reputation pick. Like OG Anunoby undoubtedly has the analytics to back him up as Depoy right now. And I'm saying that as a guy who has a future bet on Giannis to win Depoy. So whatever, I'll part with my money to see OG do it. And honestly, I thought that ladder should have had him higher up, but he's getting the recognition. And if he keeps it up, I think Defensive Player of the Year is a fair thing to aim for, and I'm so excited about him. The offense is coming together because that's like the only critique I've really had of OG is the handle needs to improve. Like that's still a fair criticism, but I mean, look at what the guy's doing. He's 4 3-pointers in the first half. He's running the floor. He must have had 5 dunks tonight. Hyper crazy athlete, and the defense, no matter what, is always going to put him head and shoulders above his peers.
Yep, and official stats: 27 points. 10 rebounds and 3 steals in this one, and a whole bunch of deflections. And as you said, he thinks he's the best defensive player in the NBA, and it's hard to really deny that. Giannis obviously has the reputation, and the Bucks are going nuclear to start this season, but the Raptors now have sort of a schedule where they have a chance to really go on a few winning streaks and, take advantage of some lower tier alien hunting teams. Everyone going after Victor Wembanyama, right? The Raptors can pile up a few W's now, hopefully, and OG Anunoby can, continue to bolster that DPOY case. Maybe if he continues doing this stuff on the offensive end, then maybe we'd be talking about MVP, but let's stick to DPOY now at this point. But one guy that since our, the Raptors MVP has gone down, Pascal Siakam has stepped right into that role for this team, and it's Fred VanVleet, who is just out here splashing threes left, right, and center. You brought up how he's picking pockets, getting steals, but there were a couple moments in this game where Fred VanVleet just went absolutely nuclear for like 2-minute stretches and really took this game, game-changing runs, right? The Rockets were making their push. They stayed close the entire game, but Fred VanVleet almost single-handedly at times just really demoralized this Houston team, a young team out there with deep pull up threes from 3-4 feet behind the 3-point line. It feels like driving in, hitting floaters, facilitating for people. We have a super chat coming in from Realzy. Just a poop emoji. Just throwing in a happy poop emoji in there. You know how Fred VanVleet is pooping all over those Houston Rockets there tonight. I think this is the correct. It's not. I'm not even going to try to pull up that box score once again. But 32 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals from Fred VanVleet in this game. How are you feeling about Freddie All-Star?
I feel great about him. And it's funny, when he was sitting down for a while there, I think everyone started to be like, do we play faster and better without Fred? And even I had a moment of like, maybe the overall chemistry flows a little bit more smooth when everyone out there is 6'8" and hyper athletic, but he comes back and just silences that doubt. I mean, he's too skilled to not make your team better when he's on the court. And tonight's a great example because the team did not shoot great. They needed someone out there who was wanting to take those shots. Gary Trent struggled a little bit. Normally, he can be that guy. But I mean, Fred VanVleet, steady Freddie for a reason. He came up huge tonight. And the defense, bro. Well, yeah, 4 steals and also a block in there. I mean, I get wowed by it because it really is just IQ plays. Like, this guy goes to the right place at the right time, and his timing is impeccable. Like, it's something that you definitely can't teach, and he's gotten better at it every single year. I think he's still second behind OG for steals in the league. So, I mean, it's a long season to go, but could you imagine having 2 Raptors atop the league in steals? I mean, they lead the league collectively as a group in that category. So the defense has been stellar, and I'm happy Fred's back.
Yeah, and we need it sort of with our smaller lineups we're running. Christian Koloko has obviously been a big for us, but dealt with some foul trouble tonight, even though he did have some moments in this game. But the Raptors rely on just chaos out there on the defensive end. When you can get deflections, when you can get steals, that's a huge plus to the type of runs, the type of schemes that Nick Nurse wants to run for this team. But one dude that has been getting steals, has been getting deflections for this team off the bench. Not much else, in his debut games with the Toronto Raptors has been Otto Porter Jr. But tonight was sort of his coming out party, in my view, as a Toronto Raptor, because came in off the bench, and Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher have been struggling in recent games. Thaddeus Young was really effective. We'll dive into him. But Otto Porter Jr., especially in that fourth quarter, delivered a scoring punch that the Raptors definitely needed. And 14 points, 6 rebounds for Otto, and I believe 1 steal. My box score, I'm looking at it off the phone, but continues to play stifling defense and is that veteran level-headed presence that can, knock down threes, play defense, exactly what we want in this Toronto Raptors scheme and system. Took a couple little floaters, some nice passes, just a championship pedigree being brought to the game by Otto Porter Jr. in this one. And this is the exact player. This is the player that the Toronto Raptors need coming off the bench, especially where, Precious Achiuwa is so up and down. We're hoping for more consistency from Chris Boucher, but he's sort of had an up and down season himself. Otto's definitely that guy that has done it before. He'll do it in the future. And, Nick Nurse can just throw him out there and say, hey, I trust you to not mess anything up and, carry our runs to the next level.
He's a vet, a championship-proven vet. And yeah, tonight was his coming out party because he hasn't got the most leash yet. I think Nick Nurse really wants to bring him up to speed. And we're such a deep team, right? Especially with guys his size. So minutes are going to be hard to get. But when he comes out there and we need an offensive spark, tonight he gets 14 points. And I know he only got credited with 1 steal, but he had his hands in there all night. He got some deflections that aren't going to show up on the stat sheet. And Matt and Jack were talking about it. This guy brings some sneaky defensive edge that was not hyped up about him. And that brings me back to the point, too. I think someone else last live stream that I was on brought up him being like a Danny Green type addition. Definitely some differences there, but I think to the same kind of impact you're looking to get. Otto Porter's awesome. Danny Green was a championship piece that came in and wanted to be a role player. Similar skills, and I think we can get that out of Otto Porter too. So I'm ecstatic about him, and tonight was a really, really good sign of his value to come.
Yeah, without a doubt. We have a super chat coming in from Jason Watson saying, all we need is #WhatAboutScarves to wrap up the Antetokounmpo and a few more chips in the bank. And you know what? OG Anunoby, he's playing at that level to where, hey, I know the man he put onto scarves is down there with the Milwaukee Bucks right now, and might be a conflict, maybe extra motivation. He can come out and clamp Giannis in these playoffs. If he's playing this level of defense, obviously no one's stopping Giannis the same way no one's stopping like a Luka Doncic or Jokic or any of these players. But if there's a guy that can do it, it's OG Anunoby, and the Raptors are still building up that defensive system. We got a core that can, really build something. I'm confident we can beat the Bucks in the playoffs. So appreciate the super chat there, Jason. But as Josh just brought up, we got guys, not just OG Anunoby, not just the man that put up, all about scarves and all that, but Otto Porter Jr. has been effective on that end, right? Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr. are always getting steals and all that sort of stuff. But there's one guy that's usually deserving of an award, or an award is named after him. The criteria for this award is fluid. Josh, you want to get a little drum roll going?
I'm on it.
Get a little drum roll, because tonight, the Scottie Barnes Award, it's going to none other than the man who just came out in this game and was effective, just getting rebounds on the offensive end, was really aggressive in attacking the rim early on in this one. It was the guy that just made me happy with his play style in this game, and Scottie Barnes himself, because there's been some criticism about how he's settling for threes, and he did take a few threes in this one, but had 13 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, made a couple gorgeous no-look passes as we're used to seeing. But we've been asking Scottie Barnes, hey man, go to the post, go to the rim. You had Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. on him, and he wasn't as efficient as he usually is from around the basket and stuff, but I thought he had the right mentality. He's playing inside out, right? Knocked down 1-3 in this one, but when Scottie Barnes is playing that level of basketball, just head first going to the rim, it opens up so much more for the rest of the team. He usually finishes them on top as well. He's really effective around the rim. This is exactly the type of game, even if it wasn't his best outing, that I want to see from Scottie Barnes night in, night out.
Yeah, definitely. And I say this all the time, bro. I say it all the time. Scottie Barnes is robbed of averaging some insane number on the assists. And I'm not going to go blame that on his teammates. Yeah, we're a bit raw offensively, but sometimes it's just such bad luck. He's setting people up so much. But let's remember, this Raptors team is also unselfish. So the extra pass that happens afterwards, they call it the hockey assist. We don't do the secondary assist in basketball, so you got to live with not picking it up. But he's such a playmaker. It's crazy, and it's not statistically accounted for yet, but it will be in coming years, especially as that role expands. So I'm very happy with him. You're right to say this wasn't his most natural offensive game. Struggled to get into a rhythm a little bit. And I'm sure you recall what I'm talking about, or at least the audience will. When he had that wide open three-pointer, he thought about it for just a second too long and ends up just banking it off the side of the rim. Yeah. He makes hard three-pointer shots. He connects on shots that he has no business making. He's such a natural, good basketball player that he kind of needs to go unconscious sometime and just feel the rhythm of the game. Easier said than done. And of course, he'll take an open shot and he's got to learn to hit those. But took him a little bit to get going tonight. But I really got to point out that playmaking of his. I can't wait till it's reflected in the stats because it's on its way.
Yeah, there's a couple moments. There's one. It's not going to be the OGs. I was debating it, but it was that gorgeous no-look pass he had to Christian Koloko, I believe it was, underneath the rim, and then either got blocked or something. It might have been Precious, but threw that no-look down the lane, got it completely sort of open underneath the rim. It was either a butchered layup or a block shot, and then we ended up finishing on the offensive rebound and put it back. I'm like, we really not going to give Scottie Barnes an assist on that? Is that really what's going to happen on this one? So that's tough. But Koloko himself, again, got the start tonight. Had 5 points, 1 rebound, dealt with some foul trouble and stuff. I thought he was effective in the second half, but with Precious Achiuwa, and we'll discuss Precious in one of the segments, way more in depth. But how are you feeling about Koloko in this one? Because there's a lot of thick guys on the Houston Rockets, like Şengün, right? Eason. They got some big dudes up front. Garuba, they have a few guys that can throw their weight around, and it didn't seem like the perfect matchup out there for Koloko tonight. Usually he's sort of liking to be in the back man of the defense, not get posted up, just swatting shots, coming over on that weak side. But even though the stats don't really indicate it, even though he was in foul trouble, I don't think he was horrible out there as the back man in the defense against probably his not optimal matchup.
Yeah, you know what? I agree and I disagree a little bit. He's a rookie, so I'm not actually trying to make that hard of a criticism on him here. It's totally okay. You can have nights like this. He's a great player and a great pickup at the spot you drafted him at. So I'm definitely not looking to be that hard on Christian Koloko right now, but I don't think he looked good tonight. I think he really needs to be a little bit stronger. The commentators talked about it all night. He's got great hands for catching the ball, gathering. He's just got he's got to be a bit more stronger to get over the defender, dunk it, or at least get a stronger floater up because we need him to be finishing lobs. He had a couple that were missed tonight. And, again, easier said than done. This guy's a rookie. I totally understand. And I do think his natural feel for the game is ahead of his years that he's had playing. He came to the game late. But I do disagree in the sense that I don't think the Houston Rockets should have been that difficult of a matchup for him. Again, not going to be too critical of the guy. Very, very young. But I do think that he could have had a better showing against a team that is alien hunting, like you said, and they don't have that dominant of a front court. Whatever. It was one of those nights for him.
They got some weight thrown around that front court.
Alperine's thick. Yep. He's thick with like 3's, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I don't really see any dominant front court players on that Rockets team. If they still had Christian Wood out there, I could maybe agree. That's a bit of a handful for the rookie. But no, I felt like this was just a bad night. I'll say it's a bad night. Call a spade for him. Whatever. It's okay. He's a rookie.
Yeah, and I'm sort of looking at like the first few minutes in the second half that impressed me because he did look aggressive at that point. He's turning around, blocking shots and stuff. His first half was a bit brutal, but I thought he was coming to his own and then got a couple sketchy fouls on him at the end there, which took him out of the game completely. So I'm happy there with Koloko. And we discussed some of the guys off the bench, right? Well, Otto Porter Jr. specifically, but the one dude that really came in and turned this game around, especially where Precious and Boucher were struggling once again tonight. Precious ended up going down with injury, which we'll discuss, but none other than Thaddeus Young. The man is out here just getting DNPs early in the season. I'll say it on the podcast. Don't stress it, folks. Thad's just going to come in when he's important. Nick Nurse knows the value of this dude. We're trying to get Precious. We're trying to get, Delano, Banton, some guys out there to get their games going early on. Thad's just going to be that insurance guy that's going to make sure everything's all right. Just the same way Otto Porter Jr. is, maybe to a lesser extent in terms of offensive talent with Thaddeus Young, but his just calmness, his demeanor to the game is so infectious amongst Raptors players, right? They give him the ball in that mid-post area the same way the Warriors do Draymond Green and say, hey, make those passes. Hit those back cutters, right? Let the offense sort of move around this dude, and then, if the passes aren't there, those thread the needle dimes from Thaddeus Young, right? Run some handoff actions, run some pick and rolls at the top. Our offense just looks so effective when we have one of those passing big men in there. And Pascal Siakam was effective for that, for the start of this season. Now that necessity is going to get picked up by Thaddeus Young, who's really the only other big on our team, unless you consider Scottie Barnes like a point, a guy that's going to be in that post-ish area the whole time. He likes to be more effective around the three-point line and stuff. But, to fill that Pascal Siakam void, Thaddeus Young has come in, obviously without the scoring prowess, but, the veteran presence to make the right decisions, to be effective in that mid spot. And I just love it. Really changed the game for the Toronto Raptors in this one.
I like the comparison that you just gave. Two different players, but the way that Draymond Green is utilized on that team where they say, hey, if you get 5 points, that's okay. Just facilitate and play solid defense. Be a reliable vet. I think that's probably the similar message that Nick Nurse gives to Thad Young. And I'm happy for him on an individual level. Like, this is the ultimate pro. You can tell he's close with the guys. We re-signed him, invested into him a little bit. I'm a big Thad Young fan. I'm not going to sit here and say he deserves a ton of minutes, but I think in a situation where you're down a Pascal Siakam and now a Precious Achiuwa, he came in and served his role beautifully. So that's why you stock up on 6'8" guys. And I mean, he shows that he's a valuable addition that we made in the offseason. Like, he was worth keeping around. Even though he put up 0 points, he was a really nice presence out there. And like I said, that's the perks of having a roster deep of 6'8" dudes. And Thad Young is the ultimate vet.
Yeah. And, Draymond Green's the comparison there, but, in a Raptor system and a Nick Nurse scheme, Marc Gasol is the guy you got to look back to in those mid-post spots.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
We have Riker R in the chat saying, Josh, that he's locked in your basement. So
Riker, don't make me come down there.
I think that's a burner because I know Riker's burners, and it might be at the actual Riker. Who really knows?
It might be, man.
We'll see. We'll see what's on the go with that. But just to run through our bench super quick. Just from what we saw, Precious, Boucher, Delano Banton. Delano Banton, I thought, sped up the game a little bit at times, which was all right for us to be effective. But out of those 3 dudes, the rest of the guys that played, anyone really catch your eye with any positives?
I'll comment on Banton. I did think he actually had a nice contribution to the game. Like, his influence out there seemed positive, but I do scratch my head a little bit, even in situations where I was like, okay, I felt like he played good. Like, there was a good energy out there when he was on the court. We seemed to be picking up steam. But then I look at his stat line, and he was still 2 of 7, 3 turnovers, 4 personal fouls. So it's like, if we're getting the good with that as well, it just makes me still feel like there's got to be a developmental leap there for him pretty soon. He's not really that young for a second-year player. But I will give him credit. There was a good vibe when he was out there. He does like to push the offense, and the Raptors scored a lot off of turnovers, and he was part of that, and that was a big edge that we had in this W. So that was something I noticed. Losing Precious, man, it's kind of a blow. He's been a bit inconsistent this year, but no doubt you'd rather have him on the team. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'm not spoiling any segments there, Josh.
Nothing yet?
We've been pushing it back, but just to keep on Delano Banton, because as you said, solid box score there, like 8, 3, and 2 and all that stuff. But he's out there playing solid defense as well. Like, Nick Nurse can trust him to just, stop a few fast breaks, even if he's not, blocking or stealing every basketball. He's getting deflections. He's being a pest out there with his length at the point guard position. So there's all those positives with Delano Banton, but then you get the negatives. And tonight, we saw a few turnovers for him, which is his biggest issue, last season. So, if he can polish that up and give us the positives, play fast but not rushed, right? That's the space we want to see for Delano Banton. But there's a lot of stuff we have to chat about in the segments, and tonight, let's swing right into it. The first, spicy P lay of the day, and there's a lot of moments in this one. We discussed Scottie Barnes' no-look pass, Fred VanVleet hitting some clutch threes, going on some nuclear stretches, Otto Porter Jr. hitting a couple down the stretch as well, but it's got to go to OG Anunoby, putting on a dunk contest once again tonight, and his best one was probably the one in traffic where he rose up in the middle and hammered it down with 2. He had a fast break one where OG Anunoby, he loves that reverse dunk, came up on the other side and threw it down reverse-wise. He's getting steals and all that. This man has been a human highlight reel out here, left, right, and center.
Man, he's low-key showtime. The reverse dunks, he's had a couple of those this season. I love it, bro. He's a humble, quiet guy, but he likes to put on a show for the people, so I can respect that. That's a good spicy P-lay. I'm going to give mine to OG as well, but, I probably would have gone with that play, but I'll diversify a little bit here, and I'm going to go with something on the defensive end. Did not show up on the score sheet, but when he was hounding Jabari Smith Jr., that was crazy. Like, just the amount of athleticism and hustle he was showing there. I mean, you're going to need to deal with OG all night long. Like, look at that sequence. I know that the Rockets ended up keeping the ball, but oh my God, that's just a testament to how hard this guy's engine is going out there. And I thought that was my spicy Pele. Little unconventional to give it to a defensive play that didn't even result in a turnover. But man, it's epitomizing the work he's putting in on the defensive end.
Yeah, and even if you don't get the turnover, the deflection, the steal, whatever you call it, right? Like, just hounding someone like that on defense just mentally affects the offensive player. They're not going at you ever again. That's Jabari Smith for the rest of his career sees OG Anunoby in front of him and he's passing that basketball. Anyone that watches that film, they're passing that basketball away because OG Anunoby is that guy on the defensive end.
Giving the rookie nightmares, bro. That was insane.
Making this guy losing sleep. He's going to be losing sleep over OG Anunoby. Paul Blunt's throwing in spicy P-lays. Love to see it from Paul in there, but not all plays can be the spicy P-lay of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, there was a lot of OG's moments. You usually get them when you're playing against young, unpolished teams. The Raptors are still youthful themselves, even though we have a couple of veterans, and tonight, we ran Fred VanVleet, Otto, and Thad a lot down the stretch in this one, but there was still about a minute and a half stretch where it just is pure, the epitome of the OG's award. It's going into to that minute and a half stretch because Torrey Eason came down, missed 2 fast break layups, that really would have been momentum swingers for the Houston Rockets, and then while Thaddeus Young was amazing, he threw one really questionable lob pass. Fred VanVleet, for as amazing as he was, hit 7 or 8 threes in this game, right? Had a couple of just weird takes, weird layups. It looked like, I coach youth basketball. I coach U16. It looked like my U16 boys when they were playing U12. That's the sort of style, the anarchy on the basketball court that was happening for that 1.5 minute stretch. And in the fourth too, right? The Raptors are able to sort of thrive in those settings, thrive in those chaotic moments. But it was wild. It was wild to watch out there. Definitely made me say, oh, geez.
Yeah, man, that was actually pretty close to being mine as well. The Eason plays there. That would have been some big momentum for the Rockets. And he just blows it. Yeah. He just blows it. And whatever. I wasn't even saying, oh, geez. I was like, oh, yeah, like amazing, great. But in the spirit of the award, Easton probably deserves it. If I had to pick one other play, hate to do it to my guy Scottie, who already won an award tonight, but I would need to say that open three-pointer that he just absolutely didn't brick it, but it felt like he did. He's got to be natural. He's got to stay fluid out there. Cue the fluid animation. But I'm just saying, like, it's funny. He makes such difficult three-pointers, and it's because he's a great basketball player, but you would trade one of those three-pointers any day to just take a wide open one, and he got one, and it was ugly. So I said OGs to that, but shout out my guy Scottie. He's got another award tonight.
Yeah, he's got to be confident with the 3-point shots. When he's looking quick, as you said, fluid, right? That's when the threes have been going down this season with that new form. When he thinks too much, and just like any basketball, when you're thinking about your form, it just looks a little bit off. So Scottie's just got to shoot those in rhythm. I feel like he makes them off the dribble a little bit more effective than he is when he has a bunch of time and spacing up. And that's a little bit weird. I guess that happens when you're you're changing your form, trying to build that muscle memory up. But it is what it is. But the thing that a lot of people have been questioning, and it's the final award, the one, the only, the Paul Pierce Golden Kazoo Award of the evening, and it's going to Precious struggled in this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the real L in this one is he came down the lane, driving in fast, made a take, and then I don't know if it was the knee, I don't know if it was like an inside ankle roll, but had a really ugly just turn of the leg, end up going down immediately. And I haven't seen Precious go down like that in his tenure with the Toronto Raptors, at least from what I can recall. So he's not a guy that's soft by any means, and that looked kind of gross there, Josh. Did you catch if it was his knee or his ankle or something like that?
I didn't actually get that good of a look at the replay. Honestly, I couldn't speak to it much because I saw him fall down initially, but in terms of like the slowed down replay, I wasn't watching it close enough to tell, but he seemed to be in significant discomfort because, hear me out here, he's definitely hurt. But I do think that players sometimes feel an injury a little bit harder when it happens after a somewhat embarrassing play. And he held onto that ball way too long past the baseline, dished it out. He didn't turn it over, but it was sort of a wrong decision. And I'm not saying he's out here faking an injury or whatever. He's definitely not. He was in discomfort. But I do think a player is a little bit more apt to just get out of the game after a bad play like that where they end up being hurt. Interpret what I just said however you'd like. But it was kind of a messy play, and it's a shame that he ended up hurt at the end of it.
Yeah, and a bunch of people in the chat are confirming it's an ankle sprain. William Chan saying right ankle sprain, but not sure if it's high or low. Right, those ankle sprains can have a very diverse set of timelines in terms of recoveries. Right, if it's a bad high ankle sprain or low ankle sprain, right, that can vary from a couple days, a week to 3 months. Right, so hopefully that's not something that's extremely serious from Precious Achiuwa, because obviously he's a guy that has a lot of power in those steps. Right, he's a big man, he's very mobile, he gets a lot of speed. He had a lot of speed on that play, so. Definitely an ugly look, but hopefully, as you said, it might have been, emotions high reaction, and then hopefully he's all good. So prayers up to Precious. Get the propaganda rolling to saying, hey, when he's healthy, that was the issue, Josh. He knew the injury was coming. When he's healthy, he's better than the next Giannis and all that sort of stuff. But, let's see what the chat is saying about this game, how we're feeling about this. Scooby-Doo comes in right in time for the end of the pod to discuss what's happening in this one. But yeah, Matthew's saying it's a grade 2 or 3 sprain. And that's
interpret that for me, Ben.
I don't know if that's official news, but because grade 1 and 3, I don't remember back when I played, I remembered all the grades and all that sort of stuff, but that's been a tough look. I know the chat will be correcting us in terms of the online doctrine for the ankle sprains out here. But Brandon Toll saying Freddie is on a tear since he's been back. And what's his averages now in the last 3 games? It's got to be above 30 points per game.
Yeah, he's got to be up there. I'm actually not sure, but he's been shooting the lights out. And that's the one thing that the Raptors really, if they can stock up on one more trait, I think it's the 3-point shooting. And everyone can shoot threes, but it's rare to have guys that can have that kind of volume. I mean, we got Gary Trent Jr., he showed a little bit of inconsistency, still like slightly younger. I mean, steady Freddie, baby. He's back and he is on a roll. So Definitely correct there.
Yeah, no, Freddie VanVleet, facilitating at the start of the season, didn't have a big scoring impact. And I thought that was the right role when you have your contingent of Pascal Siakam, Scottie Barnes, Anunoby, Precious when he's rolling, Boucher, all those guys, right? That's kind of the role I think Fred VanVleet can play, because he is an exquisite passer when he's really focused on it, trying to set up his teammates and stuff. But now we need that scoring punch, especially with Pascal Siakam out, now potentially Precious Achiuwa out. We need that sort of lead scorer, a guy that you can really rely upon, and he's been providing it. So he's doing what Nick Nurse has asked of him this season, and that's what an all-star player does, right? They got to be able to provide, like Kyle Lowry. Championship season, he averaged like 14, 15 points per game. The year after, immediately went back up to his usual 19 to 20-ish range. So that's what you love to see from Freddie VanVleet out there. And Ryan's coming in saying Gary Trent Jr. needs to get back on track. And our star boy has been struggling as of late. Had a better game in the most recent outing against the Chicago Bulls, but in this one only had 11 points, 4 assists, 1 steal. I'm surprised about Gary Trent Jr.'s defense this season, because he came in saying he's the guy that was pushing for an all-NBA, all-defensive team this season, but hasn't been picking the pockets as much as he was last year. He's still pretty effective at staying in front of guys, but he was a hound on defense last year, whereas this season had a hot start on the offensive end, was averaging 20 points per game for a stretch there, but now the offense has cooled off, and he still hasn't amped up his defense to, adjust for the up-and-down offense.
I hope that'll come with time. I mean, he's a really great defender. It could just be too. We got so many guys that are going to cheat on defense to try and get a steal, and I think our system allows for it. I don't say that as a negative thing. We lead the league in forcing turnovers. It's a great stat for us. But when we have that much activity on the back end, you got to be careful about when you make your gambles to go and try to make a play on the ball. So that could be it a little bit right now. Maybe he just needs to get into the rhythm. But I'll agree that it's been surprising that he hasn't made a little bit more of a jump defensively. Still really good, but you're right. He was talking some crazy stuff in the offseason about, I think he even said defensive player of the year loading or something. I don't know, man. I saw some crazy stuff on Instagram stories from Scottie and his teammates. But again, it's a long season. We'll see where this goes. And I still have full faith that Gary Trent Jr. is probably he's a top 5 defender on this team for sure. And we got some crazy defenders on this group.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Tom M saying we're going to suffer at center. Without Precious, that's definitely something to worry about, because Precious, while his bad games, things are ugly, for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But half the time, it's really, really effective. Precious is that dude at center for us. So hopefully Koloko can step up. Maybe Thad was the de facto center for a large chunk of this one. He's solid. And Ken Birch can provide some insurance minutes there off the bench. He's one of the better third-string centers in the NBA. So Definitely, I think we'll be fine on that front, especially if Koloko cannot hit a rookie wall or something in the coming games. But William Chan saying how I do like how they're running Freddie off the ball and giving Scottie some more reps at the point. That's good, because it also, Fred VanVleet's minutes last season were all very ball dominant, harassing the other team's best guard defender, and trying to create basically everything on the offensive end himself. So him being able to play off the ball in less of a fatiguing role, right? If you can play off of Scottie Barnes, sort of creating more shots, that's definitely a positive there, especially with Fred VanVleet's three-point shooting. I mean, he took 16 threes tonight, made 7, right? That's a really effective place for him to be in on the offensive end, and it's what role he was really playing when we won a championship with Kyle Lowry out there manning the point.
Man, that's exactly what I was about to jump to. As I was going to say, maybe he truly is best playing off ball. Of course, you're still going to expect him to be a playmaker, lead the charge in some regards. But yeah, when he was at his best, and I'll say his best was not his all-star season. It was that playoff run when we won the chip. And he got to play off of Kyle Lowry. So I think that Scottie Barnes is making enough jumps with his playmaking that you can justify giving him way more ball in the offensive zone. And I think that Fred VanVleet's offensive numbers are going to just absolutely take advantage of that situation. So I think that off-ball Freddie is a great observation there. You're right. When he goes out with the agenda of playmaking, he does an awesome job of that. But I think the best version of VanVleet offensively is when he can kind of sit back and have those off-ball looks, and he made a good click tonight.
Yeah, definitely was effective out there. SM is saying would appreciate Fred would play more pass the ball to open players and made the smart play instead of Fred first ball. I think we need some Fred first ball currently with Pascal Siakam out. That's kind of what the Raptors need at this point. Playing off the ball, getting his looks right, and letting Scottie Barnes be more of the facilitator or something like that at this point. But at times it definitely can be annoying to see Fred VanVleet miss up a couple passes, but that wasn't the case at the start of the season. We need some more Fred VanVleet buckets, and he's been providing it for us for the recent games. So that's a positive there. We got the burner Riker out here scaring Scooby-Doo with the return out there. I don't know if it's the real Riker or the not real Riker. Text me if it's the real Riker. That's the only true. I'll bring up the phone. I'll bring up the text if it's true. But Scottie looked scared to shoot. Wouldn't drive hurt regression slump. I wouldn't drive hurt regression slump. I don't know what you mean by hurt regression slump there, number, but I thought he was doing pretty good. Driving the lanes, being effective, especially in the first half, made a concerted effort to get inside the lane and stuff. Josh already brought up, did look scared to shoot his threes at times, but I think that was just him probably having a chat with Nick Nurse saying, play inside out rather than outside in. Scottie's just got to have the mentality of, I'm going to score, I'm going to go to the basket as my primary option. But if I'm open for three, right, we've seen his three-point shot improve to where he should be taking the open ones without hesitation.
He should be, but it's interesting. He is very good off the dribble, and that's where I get a lot more confidence letting him actually hold the ball instead of VanVleet. And I don't mean consistently, but at times to let Freddie play off ball, because he can pull up and actually yank threes off the dribble. And it seems at times more natural than when you square him up for a corner three, which is odd, but it'll come with reps. I mean, 3-point shooting for this guy is such a new development. You look at his last year at FSU, then his rookie year, it's just been a steady trajectory up. So I'm not going to expect anything overnight. It almost was overnight with how he's shooting threes right now, but it was just a bad look, that one shot he took. Otherwise, I think Scottie is just going to continue to be a solid shooter this season.
Yeah, for sure. We got a super chat coming in from Tom M saying, just no context. I'm worried. Now, he did bring up earlier that he's worried with the center position. So I imagine that's what he's talking about, or just in general, because the Raptors, the follow-up message to it from Savage is saying that the team struggled against a Lotto team for 48 minutes. Be very worried. And guys, the Houston Rockets, while they are certainly alien hunted and all that sort of stuff, they aren't a horrible roster. And they had some guys that really came out and played well tonight. They're not the greatest type of matchup for the Toronto Raptors, I've sort of discussed in this video. I think, this is a very impressive win for the Raptors. Regardless, forget the record, throw it out the window. The Rockets came out and played hard. They've been having close games as well. I think they're a better team than their record indicates. They just struggled to close, right? They're a team that, as we saw tonight, might miss a couple open layups when they really have a momentum swinging bucket, right? They have a couple dudes that just might take a random transition pull-up three that's contested rather than settling things down with 4 minutes to go, the same way Thad and Otto Porter Jr. were doing for us in the fourth quarter, right? They don't have those veterans to really win them games, but they have enough talent to really, throw some punches throughout. But the Raptors proved why they're the veteran team, why they're the squad that, you shouldn't. I'm not worried about this Raptors team. We're a top, 4 or 5 team in the Eastern Conference. We had the toughest schedule in the NBA. Prior to this Houston Rockets game, we probably still technically have had it, even with this one in account, right? This Raptors team is good. This Raptors team is solid. I think we're going to go on a nice little streak here coming up. That's my little prediction.
Yeah, and the center issue is something to worry about a little bit. But as you just mentioned, we're going into a stretch of games here that ideally will be a little easier than what we had to bite off out of the gate this year. Yeah. Which was the hardest opening schedule in the NBA. So I think that once we get out of this stretch and into some more difficult games, hopefully we'll have Siakam back. Hopefully Precious is okay. Khem Birch, this guy appears, plays solid, then disappears again. And he's the Phantom of the Opera. I don't know where this man disappears to, but I'm sure he will be back at some point too for some more difficult matchups. So I'm not going to worry too much. I think we're benefiting from the timing, at least, if we are going to have injuries. And you mentioned the matchup with the Rockets. I do agree that we should have played collectively better as a team. There were individual successes that you take from this game. Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Otto Porter. There were some storylines where I was like, that feels like a win within the win. But when you look at the overall collective effort, it does need to be better against that team, especially when you're at home off of some rest. That's just the bottom line of it for me. But to give some credit to you pointing out the matchup, it's chaotic offense of the Rockets meeting the chaotic defense of the Raptors. They do not behave naturally in an offensive scheme, which is just it's weird. I think it could go one of two ways, but tonight it played into their favor a little bit because they are very unpredictable, and the Raptors are exactly that on the opposing defensive end. So some big runs on either side of the score tonight, but the Raptors weathered the storm, hang their hat on defense, and got the W. So at the end of the day, I'm not worried about anything right now.
Yeah, life is good. Life is good. We got a super chat coming in from Number saying Scottie driving would free up Fred for catch and shoots, and that's what I thought was happening. I thought the ball was in Scottie Barnes' hands for a large chunk of this game. You know, it's the main facilitator. Obviously, Fred still brought it up at times. Like, it wasn't, you know, Scottie was point, Fred was off ball, but you know, there were a lot of moments where that was the case, and I thought he was driving, posting up, and even if it wasn't, as you said, the immediate pass from Scottie Barnes going to Fred VanVleet, Scottie drives those lanes, he kicks it to someone, and it gets swung around to Fred getting open looks, Gary getting open looks, OG getting open looks. So I like the style of playing that we're playing, and people are back and forth on how good we're going to be. Tom M is saying losing streak, not a winning streak. I think we're going to be fine. Raptors are in a good place right now. We got Koloko to man that paint. We've seen better on defense with Koloko out there on, you know, most nights. So, you know, without Precious, it's going to be tough. But Boucher, Thad, I'm confident, and Birch to patch up that 4-5 position for us. And OG and obviously Scottie can move up on those roles. Otto Porter Jr. is there, Delano. We have a lot of guys that are capable of playing. Even Juancho Hernan-Gomez, you know, the Bo Cruz, the Cruz missile. I'm sure it can give us some decent minutes if things go completely out of hand. So I'm not too worried about what's going on here. Ben 1-800-Lunatic saying, I'm very concerned that Scottie is having his worst season than last year. And someone in the chat said that Nick Nurse mentioned that Scottie Barnes is not hurt. Regardless of if that's the case or not, he's just limping randomly at times throughout games and stuff. I know he's going up for monster jams and all that. And Tom M's coming with the super chat saying, pray for OG's health. And that's facts, because he's really our injury-prone dude out there last season. But, you know, super chats got me all disjointed there. But are you worried about Scottie Barnes, you know, his kind of sophomore slump a little bit, or do you think he'll just naturally progress back to the Scottie from last season?
I feel like I said this on the last live stream as well. Like, don't expect Scottie Barnes to touch 20 points per game this season. And I said this before the season too. He's too much of a distributor, and he plays on a team with so many good offensive options that just brought in more and got better. Yep. So to me, I look at the situation, and he's only a sophomore player who really like ironed out his offensive game last season. I don't think 20 points per game is even a reasonable expectation. And I'm not saying that's what people are necessarily expecting, but look at the defense, look at the rebounds, look at the playmaking. I might be mistaken, but I believe those categories are all up right now. I know at least most of them are. And by the eye test, I know he's improving in those categories. So I think those are the stats that I'm more concerned with, because that's where we need the jumps to be made. We have enough guys that can go score 15 to 20 any night. And he's still in that mix of dudes. So at least it hasn't regressed, and other points of his game have improved. In the three-point shooting, you know, yep. Maybe he's not scoring as much in the paint, but he's diversifying his skill set. I kind of expected this from Scottie Barnes, especially if we were going to have a successful year with minimal injuries. He was going to need to facilitate and play a role, and that's what he's doing. So definitely not upset about it. You can see him putting the pieces together slowly. And when it comes to him limping around, I think he's just kind of got that like Zion Williamson waddle to him when he moves sometimes. I don't think it's like he's hurt. He walks with a little bit of that Zion limp, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I'm happy with Scottie.
I got you. The Bulls game really, because that's something that's been on the go on and off this season. But the Bulls game really just from the eye test. He also rolled his ankle, tweaked it in that game, stayed on the court and all that sort of stuff. True. So that was the one that really just caught my eye and stuff. And then it's still kind of there tonight. But, you know, it's just like, you know, everyone's trying to walk with a little limp when you're a kid. Get that attention. Like, I crossed you up on one leg, you know, so Scottie Barnes is out here doing that. But 1-800-Lunatic saying there's no way Scottie isn't hurt. He's been less aggressive driving, which I thought was better tonight, but definitely this season. And then getting blown by on defense more than last year. That is definitely a true fact. He's long armed, so it's less noticeable. He can kind of recover effectively, but he is getting blown by smaller guards, and that might be a product of him guarding more smaller players, right? That's especially where Fred VanVleet was out for a large stretch of this season, and Gary Trent Jr. hasn't been the on-ball level of defender as he was last year, so Scottie's getting those matchups. I think that could be a part of it, but definitely getting blown by is an issue for that. But we got RKWD BMX saying O.G. Always giving shout-outs to OG Anunoby. Sean saying maybe Scottie just needs some better shoes for comfort, some orthopedic shoes maybe. My feet used to hurt when I would limp until I changed my shoes. That's on, like, I'm sure NBA players, I haven't been on sneaker watch for Scottie Barnes, but I feel like they change their shoes every game. But, you know, orthopedics are legit. You know, if you got some wrong shoes, man, that can really mess up your, like, entire body.
Yeah, he's I don't know, man. The Raptors medical staff is so good. They'll figure out the right system for Scottie to keep him helpful. Maybe they should put some springs in those shoes, really get him dunking on people. That Vucevic poster the other day, bro. Man. Oh my God. That doesn't look like an injured man to me.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
That dunk was absolutely wild. Scooby-Doo keeps asking who likes medium rare chicken. Please, no one try medium rare chicken, please. But
we do not advise that.
We are not advising what diet recommendations going on in our chat right now. Yeah, Savage is saying Luka jogged by him. Luka jogs by everyone, to be fair. Luka walks by. You could throw Kawhi, Paul George, and whatever wing you want to throw him on that Clippers series. He was just walking by those dudes. So I'm not watching. Not scared about any Luka blowing by any of our dudes. But Numbers saying I haven't seen Scottie go coast to coast like he did last year. And yeah, I definitely think there's something going on. Like Nick Nurse is going to say he's healthy and all that sort of stuff, right? But I definitely think there's something going on with his injuries. People are saying we should get a sneaker watch segment. Things are wilding. Yes, no, Josh. Do you think he's injured? Yeah, like.
No. I don't think he's injured. No.
Okay.
No, I personally no. The tweak that you're mentioning in the Bulls game, I watched the Bulls game. I must have just missed it. Maybe if I had seen that play, I would change my opinion. But based off of what I'm seeing right now, I don't think he's hurt. He just didn't have a very efficient night. If he made a few more of those shots, I don't know if these comments even bother coming up. And I mean, we faced a very athletic Houston Rockets team, and then Luka, like you said, he's walking everybody in the league, even though he's a milk bag out there, but Luka's still one of the most skilled, physical, not afraid of anybody kind of players. So whatever, Scottie Barnes is a second-year dude. He's still trying to do a lot on offense and a lot on defense. It takes a toll, but I don't think he looks hurt. I could be wrong. I don't see it right now, though.
Yeah, it is what it is. Scooby-Doo's asking us to make a shoe. I've been trying. I've actually researched how to like build shoes from scratch. I feel like that would be the coolest thing to do at some point in my life. But if you guys, if people would be interested in the Raptors Digest shoe, some homemade kicks made from the garage in Newfoundland, like I'll definitely put my brain to it. Like let me know in the chat if you want me to cook those up. Get the little leaf on it. You want them Joshy Ice?
I want a pair.
some signed Raptors Digest shoes, get the stitching in there, get some crazy with it, but I don't know, it's a wild process.
I'll get Riker in the basement working on the shoe line for us.
That's actually where Riker is right now. He's sewing together shoes in Josh's basement, getting it all going. We're taking over Nike with the Canadian sweatshops in Josh's basement
with the Riker labor.
The forced Riker labor. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. And I think on that note, folks, we should sign this one off. And didn't plug the likes. Didn't get a little like spike. We're mostly going for subs. We're pushing for those subs. So if you're one of the 211 people in this chat, definitely hit subscribe to the channel. It helps us out big time. Paul Blunt's calling Digest Air. Dankster saying that they need the Digest shoes. The Silky Flow ones. All white, baby. We be getting those Silky Flow ones. And Adidas has an opening after dropping Easy. No, we ain't going to Adidas. We're to the Digest, the Silky Flow ones, the milky, the fluid ones. That's what we're getting out here. Numbers coming down with a super chat saying individual player awards this year's predictions. Right off the top of your head, who you saying is getting the awards? Answer this super chat.
No
MVP. No thoughts.
Okay, MVP. Luka Doncic.
Luka, definitely.
Defensive Player of the Year, I'd be giving to OG Anunoby, but if not him, Mikal Bridges.
Ooh. I'm saying
Sixth Man of the Year. Christian Wood.
Yep.
And then most improved player. That one requires a little bit of thought, but maybe like Anthony Simons.
That's not bad.
I mean, he was already quite good, but
Yeah.
I need to think on that one a little bit more. But that's kind of just like off the top. I need to hear it from you now, Ben.
Yeah, I'm saying Luka, OG. OG's getting it. Sixth man of the year. Christian Wood, that's who it's got to go to at this point. And then MIP? Bol. That's my pick.
That's a good pick.
Bol.
That's a pick for the people. I love it.
Yeah, that's my guy. But Dajid's asking, did I miss it? Or was the Scottie Barnes Criteria is a Fluid Award not given out today? And boy, you definitely missed it, because once again, the award went to none other than Scottie Barnes. The criteria is fluid, though, folks. Like, the anticipation builds up. We don't know who we're giving it to when we go into it, but the criteria just comes to us while we're recording. So that's Lauri Markkanen, actually, people are bringing up for MIP. That's fair. I like Bol. Lauri's been good, just been hurt. Needed the opportunity. Bol just went from nothing to just a beast. Vassell's a good pick as well.
Mm-hmm. Keldon Johnson was a popular person for that, like very early on in the season.
He was good already last season, I feel like, though. He was like Team USA and all that sort of stuff. Like, I feel like he's a guy. But all right, did you see the video of Nurse shooting at a 2 in that Tampa season? Pre-game shoot around. Nick Nurse was a professional basketball player, folks. Nick Nurse used to be a player coach. What was he, on the London Towers or something? Player coach.
Yeah.
So, don't be afraid. Fred VanVleet goes down again. He doesn't want to play Malachi Flynn any minutes. Delano's turning over the ball. Jeff Dowden's never getting out of the shadow realm. Nick Nurse is going to throw in a jersey. He's going out there and going to start working. How many points do you think Nick Nurse will get against who would be the most tanking team this season?
Dude, that's a tough question, man.
How many points is he getting against Jalen Suggs and the Orlando Magic?
Orlando beat Dallas bad tonight. I don't know. Yeah, they did. Dallas only got like 87 points. Nick Nurse, 12 points. I'm going to go with the hyper-realistic line here, because that's very realistic.
12 points for Nick Nurse.
Yeah. All on three-pointers.
This man's banging 4 threes coming out on 50 shots. You'd love to see it. That's what we want to say. And
Ben, there was one award we didn't go over. You mentioned the Orlando Magic, which is why I thought of it. But Rookie of the Year for me has to be Paolo Banchero. Do you have any hot take there? Ben Mathurin's been great.
Mathurin was one of my picks coming into the year. Paolo's been good. Keegan Murray, I just love that dude's game. He's been struggling in recent games. I'm a Keegan Murray guy. I think that guy is sick. So
steady. I respect that pick. Yeah.
But like logically, you got to go Paolo. But it's the basic name, It's whatever. But the corn bots are coming in, as Scooby Doo is saying. So I think things are going wild unless the chat pops off again. But folks, you guys are the best for making this far. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Helps us out big time. Josh, you got any last words in this game?
No, man, I'm all good.
Let's get it. Win streak incoming, folks. Cheers.